Understanding the non-narcissistic parent. And we talk a lot about narcissistic parents, about narcissists in general, and what they're like, how they act, how they react, and how that impacts us as ACONs, adult children of narcissists. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about the non-narcissistic parent. I just don't think that we talk enough about the other parent and or caregiver or step parent or girlfriend or boyfriend or that non-narcissistic person who might have been the adult in your life when you were a child, who had an influence on you, and how that's affected you, how that's impacted you, and how it impacted them. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the non-narcissistic parent, and I'll be talking about how it impacts you and what you can do to help heal holistically. I'm Dr. Meg Haworth. I'm a transpersonal psychologist, holistic nutritional chef, and best-selling author of Get Well Now, Healing Yourself with Food and the Power of the Mind. And I help wounded ACONs, adult children of narcissists, to become healed icons. And an icon is somebody who's independent, confident, original, and naturally you. I've been there. I know what it's like to grow up in a narcissistic family system and what it takes to heal from all of the things that can happen. I had over a dozen illnesses. I drowned. I was struck by lightning. So I've had a lot of trauma in my life as well, sexually, physically, emotionally abused. And I have helped to heal that holistically in my own life. And I've helped thousands and thousands of other people to heal as well over the last 30 years that I've been doing this work. So stay tuned and let's talk about the other parent, the non-narcissistic parent. You may be thinking that the other parent in your narcissistic family system was also a narcissist. And I hear it a lot from clients where, yeah, they were both narcissists. What so often happens in narcissistic family systems is that the other parent is really struggling with their own emotional and mental health issues from being abused, but they probably came into the relationship with those issues to begin with, which is why they paired up, why they were attracted to one another on the emotional and unconscious level. When you get attracted to somebody, there are so many reasons why you're attracted to them. And a big reason why we attract to other people in our lives is because they will help us to bring out our own childhood issues and help us to work through them. I think that's one of the primary reasons why people get together. But what happens is they never get to that place. And if you're with a narcissistic person, you're not going to get to that place because unless you do, of course, your own self inner work, but you're not going to get to that place with your partner because they aren't introspective and they won't go there with you. So the non-narcissistic parent is very often carrying out the directions of the narcissistic parent because they have been given the same thing that you were given, the absolute rule that they don't matter. No matter what they do, they don't get it right. And they're not good enough. They are unlovable. All of the messages that are being communicated to you by your narcissistic parent are being communicated to the other parent as well. And if you think about the romantic relationship and then the types of manipulations that narcissistic people do, they're projecting all of their shame and their guilt onto their partner. They will target their partners every single time. And if you've been in a narcissistically abusive romantic relationship on top of having been an ACON, adult child of a narcissist, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. You get so accustomed to the normalization of the behaviors, of the manipulation, of the hurt, of the shame, the blame, the guilt, the pain that comes along with being narcissistically abused. And so what happens behind closed doors in the family system when the family's together or when you're alone with a narcissistic parent or you're with your siblings and or any combination of people that are in your family system. But what happens uh, behind closed doors with the narcissistic parent takes it a level even deeper. So a lot of times the other parent is being pushed into reactive abuse. And you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's when the narcissist pushes you and pushes you and pushes you. They're bullying you to the point where you explode. And then as soon as you explode, they turn the tables and say, look, oh, see, she's unhinged. She's the problem. She's crazy. And so it takes the focus off of the narcissistic parent. And then it manipulates the children into thinking that the other parent is a bad person. They're not good. They're neglectful. They're, whatever it is that they're trying to get you to believe about the other parent. It's really sad and it's really difficult and very confusing for everybody in the family system. And the narcissistic parent is really destroying the entire family from the inside out. It's like this implosion that happens in the family system. And that parent, the non-narcissistic parent, really gets targeted. So their hands are tied just like yours are. And they realize pretty early on that everything is about that narcissistic parent and everything must revolve around them. And something you need to know about the non-narcissistic parent is they are incredibly lonely. They are in a lot of pain emotionally. They often came into the relationship with pain. They came in from families where there was a narcissistic parent and they were the empathic and sensitive one. There's codependency issues that come along with being the non-narcissistic parent. And so they're going to take care of everybody. This is what a narcissist is looking for to begin with. They want somebody who is smart, accomplished, amazing. Everybody loves them. And those are the very things that they actually end up hating about the person that they marry, your other parent. They hate those things and then they put them down constantly. So now, if you think about how that wears away at a person who's in a relationship, in a romantic relationship with somebody, that is incredibly painful, incredibly difficult to think about what is going on for them. So they're bringing in whatever traumas they're bringing in from their past. Could be an abandonment trauma. It could be, like I said, another narcissistic parent. It could be sexual abuse trauma. There are all these different things that can happen. They're not always traumatized people, but they are traumatized people once they get into the narcissistically abusive relationship. And the narcissist gets that person is going to be there for them, is not going to leave, is going to have the kids, make them look good. That's the only reason they chose that person in the first place. This person makes the narcissist look good. So if you think about the impact that has on the non-narcissistic parent and how difficult that would be to be caught in this kind of relationship, and the manipulations that are constantly occurring in the family system. And so you think about the non-narcissistic parent and the way that they have to look at their own children getting abused in front of them. They may not think of it that way. They may not have really quite understood it because they're broken down bit by bit by bit and convinced that the narcissistic parent is correct and that they're wrong and everything that they do is wrong. So it can be very difficult for them to see the truth of what's going on, just like it can be really difficult for you to see the truth that's going on. Now, something I've seen in my practice is that the people that I've worked with thought that one parent was the narcissist, but it turned out it was the other parent, because the other parent was so good. The narcissistic parent was so good at looking like the good guy. And then the other parent was constantly carrying out the directions from the narcissistic parent. So basically, they were triangulating, that narcissistic parent was triangulating with the non-narcissistic parent to the point that that non-narcissistic parent was actually angry all the time, hurting, upset, alone, invalidated, put down, criticized, blamed, shamed, guilted, to the point where they are just like a nub of a person. They're barely even there. They're barely hanging on. And they're so reactive that you think they're abusive and horrible and awful, but they're carrying out the directions of the narcissistic parent. They feel as though they have no choice. and they're worn down so much that then you think they're the narcissist. It's messed up. It's crazy, the stuff that you deal with in narcissistic family systems. But that is a key thing that a narcissist is going to do in a family system is to make the other parent the bad guy, make them wrong. And as bad as they make that parent seem, and this goes for you too, as bad as they make you seem, is as good as you actually are. They hate your goodness. They are uncomfortable with your goodness. They are incredibly uncomfortable with their own guilt, their own shame, their own pain, their own traumas, and they absolutely refuse to look at them. So they're projecting it onto everyone else around them. They're giving it out and making it your responsibility to care for them, to care for their emotional inner world, which they don't actually really have because they're these empty shell people. It's wreck. It's crazy, right? And that's why you feel crazy. Something that happens often with the non-narcissistic parent is you may grow up thinking that they're really awesome and that they're the only one who actually really gets you and that they are really empathetic towards you, but you're confused by the fact that they're carrying out these directions that the narcissistic parent is doing. So you think that they're fully aligned, but you didn't realize that wasn't necessarily the case because they had to do what the narcissistic parent said, or the consequences for them were even greater than the ones for you, which were already horrible because narcissistic parents can be absolutely cruel and unkind. So you may end up understanding this whole dynamic, and you may end up really loving that parent who was able to show up for you, who was able to give empathy and care and kindness. But you also may simultaneously resent them for not protecting you. And that is something that you do need to deal with if you're going through therapy to heal from the wounds of parental narcissistic abuse, because there can be many, many wounds to your self-esteem, your self-expression, your identity, your sense of self, of who you are. Maybe that one parent brought that out in you and said, hey, you can be anything you want to be, while the narcissistic parent is telling you you're stupid, you're an idiot, you never get it right. And so now you've got these two messages from these two separate parents who are telling you two different things. And it's even harder to distinguish like what is the truth. But that's part of what you would also parse out and just really kind of figure out in the therapeutic process. So growing up with a narcissistic parent is really hard, and it's very difficult on the other parent as well, who is really being used. Everybody in the system is being used by that narcissistic parent. And meanwhile, they're projecting to everybody that they're this generous person. Maybe they're active in their church or their community, and, they want to be well loved and well respected. And meanwhile, they're also putting the other parent down to others in the community at large, maybe to neighbors, maybe to people at the church. They're doing things that are trying to make the other parent look bad. And it's another painful piece of the entire system and the entire issue. So the non-narcissistic parent really has a lot of pressure on them, and it can be very, very difficult. Another scenario that I've seen in my practice is that you may have a really good relationship with the non-narcissistic parent, but the narcissist in the family is constantly getting in the middle of that relationship, trying to make sure that you don't have alone time together, trying to make sure that you don't talk about them, that you don't out them to each other and create a unit over here that has nothing to do with that narcissistic parent. So they're always going to try to insert themselves into the mix of your relationship with that other parent who might be really kind and caring, because again, they're going to be jealous, they're going to be envious, they're going to not connect with you, but be upset that you're connecting with the other parent. Like, it's messed up, right? So, and if you think about what that does to you, is it also puts you in a position where you feel very uncomfortable being around the non-narcissistic parent or having alone time with them, because your narcissistic parent has already always made it clear that you shouldn't, that there's a problem with that. And so again, it's just there's all these layers of dealing with a narcissist, and they are lifelong. And for you, when you think about the damage this does to you and the confusion that you have internally about your own parents, you know, are they good? Are they bad? Are they like who was lying? Who was telling the truth? You start to be able to sort that out. The one with empathy and the one who's kind and warm, that's usually the one who is telling the truth. And when it's genuine, you'll learn the what I call the sliming of the narcissistic parent when they're acting so sweet and so nice and they're love bombing everybody and they're just like, let me take you out to dinner or whatever it is that they're doing. It doesn't feel genuine because it's not. And you'll start to really understand that more deeply as you get older. That's when you typically begin to be able to see, oh, this is what was really going on. My narcissistic parent tried to pit me against my non-narcissistic parent and make them look bad. And so you think about the tremendous weight it had on your other parent, your non-narcissistic parent. Now, in some cases, yes, both parents are narcissistic. You'll be able to tell that too if neither of them are going to work on themselves, neither of them are ever going to have a conversation with you of any depth, neither of them are really that interested in you. Neither of them are taking accountability for anything that they do. So they're not having any conversations with you about, wow, I'm sorry I did that. I'm sorry I said that, and that are meaningful and that are not just them trying to get something from you. That's when you're going to hear apology from a narcissistic parent. But a non-narcissistic parent may bring up a topic and say, hey, you know what? I am so sorry I wasn't there for you when this happened, or I felt really bad about this, and I know it must have had this impact on you. They're going to be able to be insightful, and they're going to be able to see how they may have hurt you. Sometimes it's hard to know whether they're being genuine or not, especially with a covert narcissist. This is the nice guy, nice gal narcissist who can be really super sneaky with the way that they talk and the way that they are trying to manipulate you to get information out of you or to get you to do something they want you to do for them. Again, you're probably confused even listening to this, but I know that a lot of this is landing inside of you and that you're really feeling and understanding what the impact of having grown up in a narcissistic family system. So you think about that narcissist as the cult leader, and then the non-narcissistic parent has to be serving the leader all the time. If they want to stay in that dynamic, they have to serve the leader. And a lot of times, like in my parents' generation, they didn't get divorced. They didn't even entertain the possibility. You just do whatever it takes to move through it. That happened to a lot of people in my generation. A lot of people did get divorced also. It's just people had different things, but I think this is important to bring this up right now too, is the trauma bond of the narcissistic parents. So they've been bonded, not shared trauma. That's different. That's not a trauma bond. The trauma bond is basically the narcissistic parent has worn away at the non-narcissistic parent bit by bit, just cutting them down. And what they'll do is they'll give them what's called breadcrumbing. The narcissistic parent will, suddenly just like be so sweet and be like, oh, I love you. And and then dote on them and all of that after they have done something pretty cruel, or after they've given them the silent treatment, they'll suddenly just act like nothing ever happened. And then they'll start love bombing them to get them back in. So if you think about that dopamine hit, because now the non-narcissistic parents looking at the narcissistic parent and going, there he is, or there she is, there's that guy or gal I married, that one who was so nice to me, who just was so interested in me and wanted to know everything about me and all of that. That everything they wanted to know about that other parent, they're going to use it against them. They're going to use it to cut them down, to reduce them to nothingness. And that's painful. So this dopamine hit of all of the like, oh my gosh, this is the person, this is the one. And then the crash of, the cortisol, that crash that makes you just so depressed. A lot of non-narcissistic parents are super depressed, and have all kinds of physical issues. They may be very sick with like migraines and autoimmune disease, cancer, all kinds of things where they're trying to please this person who's absolutely impossible to please. There's no way to please a narcissistic person, but they're constantly putting you in the place of pleasing them. So think about what that's like. And then you're trying to be a mom, or you're trying to be a dad, and you're trying to be there and show up for your kids, and you're constantly being thwarted at every turn to be able to do that. So I know this video is probably bringing up a lot for you. And if you're really getting something out of it, please like, please share, please subscribe. Please also put something in the comments, like if you resonate with this. And also, I'd love to hear your story. What happened with your non-narcissistic parent? How did they survive? How did they, maybe they even learn to thrive? But then how did it affect you? Did you work through how that affected you? Did you feel neglected by them? Did you feel like you were also abused by them because they had no choice but to be abusive towards you because they were carrying out what the narcissist wanted them to do? And how did that impact you? It does feel like a double whammy. And then you're getting that from both parents, and then the confusion of like, who's the good one? Who's the bad one? It's a lot. It's a lot to handle. So I hope this information's been helpful for you. I hope you've learned something. I hope it's brought something out in you. And I really do want you to look at what it takes to get that narcissistic parent out of your head, out of your body, out of your soul. Like it's a holistic process, healing from the wounds of parental narcissistic abuse and of the wounds that come from the other parent. It is a holistic process. But the good news is it can be healed. And that's what I help people with. And I have this wonderful group program that I would love to talk to you about. You can apply to speak to me for free, see if you might be a good fit for the program. You might be a good fit to work with one another. The results I get for my clients are extraordinary. People who have been released from the energy that they're holding in their system, from the mental, emotional, physical, and energetic damage that has been done to them by narcissistic abuse. So I hope that this information has been helpful for you. I'm Dr. Meg Haworth, and I hope this information will help you get well now.